Greetings, YouTube. As I mentioned in the Ultimate Magic review, I thought I'd talk a little bit about the difference between static and dynamic magic systems. Now, a static system is one where you have a selection of powers, spells, psionic abilities, what have you, and you can, based on your character class, can have a certain number of them per day and a certain selection of them available to you. So you have selection X and number of castings per day, Y based on your class and your level and things like that. So when it comes time for your character to do something in that round, you reference to the spells that you have available that day or their psionic powers. And then in the case of the psionic powers, you fuel them with psionic power points. And then when your spell slots are gone or when your power points are gone, you're done for the day. But the actual choices that you have available on the fly at the moment are fairly narrow. Now, a dynamic system, as described in the word spells, the words of power in Ultimate Magic, and in a number of other systems out there, True 20 Sorcery is a good example. That's a mess of a book, in my opinion, but which use simpler structure. So you have a number of different abilities that you can combine together to create a potentially nearly unlimited number of spells, and that you create them on the fly when you need them from the repertoire of words that you know. So you may know 6 words or 8 words, and then you can combine those in different ways, and you can come up with a whole bunch of different spells. Now, to my mind, when you have that kind of a magic system, one of two things happens. One, the person creates a bunch of customized spells, and those are the go-to spells they always use, which makes them effectively a static spellcaster like the Vancian magic or the psionic powers used in 3.5 or Pathfinder. Because even though you have a lot of flexibility between adventures to come up with new spells, when you're actually running the adventures, the player is referring to a set list because that saves them time in-game. So they're not bogging things down. They're boom, boom, boom. Their turn is over. They go to the next guy. Keeps things moving smoothly. And it allows people to create what they consider to be optimized spells. Because the tinkerers out there love that idea of the perfect spell. Excuse me. And the other thing that can happen is that you get someone that wants to create a spell on the fly. So they've got 9 words of power. They want to combine them together to create different effects. Their turn comes in the adventure, and everything stops. This is bad. This is like net running in a Shadowrun Cyberpunk game. Everyone else sits there and goes, while the spellcaster decides what is he going to do with this incredibly flexible system that will allow him to create all kinds of different effects, and he has to come up with a design right there on the spot. Now, when you're driving down the road and you decide you want to take a left-hand turn and there's oncoming traffic, the amount of time you have to make that decision is limited. You have to decide, can I make that or do I wait? All right? It's a realistic time frame. In game Pathfinder, you have 6 seconds. Here outside in the meat space, the player sitting at the table, he has minutes. But that's not what his character has. His character has 6 seconds. So allowing the player more than 6 seconds, to me, seems a little disingenuous. It seems like they're cheating. Because another player using a static spell list can come up with a snap decision much more quickly. Now, if you want to start counting down, 1, 2, 3, and say when you get to 6, if you haven't come up with an idea, your turn's over, that would reflect the realistic nature of their class. But you'd be being a jerk because you're rating on their fun. But if they sit there for a minute and decide what they're going to do, that's raining on everybody else's fun. So if you could probably figure out by now, I'm not a big proponent of dynamic spell systems. I don't much like them. I have very few problems with the Vancian spellcasting system that's used in 3.5 and Pathfinder. And I think that particularly the Pathfinder psionic system in Psionics Unleashed is awesome and offers me all the potential flexibility I could ever conceivably want. I don't need a dynamic spell system like they've introduced in Ultimate Magic. I think it's superfluous. And again, I know why they did it. They wanted to appeal to people who don't like the other two systems. It's for marketing purposes. It's attempting to lure players away from other role-playing games and hopefully get them into a Pathfinder game and expanding their base of customers. I have complete understanding of why they did this. I just don't think it's a good fit for the kind of play that most D&D or Pathfinder games have. Having a bunch of people at the table sit around and do nothing while the player comes up with something on the fly is boring. And if they're coming up with a static list of their own of just customized spells, they can create customized spells under the Vancian system. You don't need the additional system. So, well, that's just my opinion. I realize that it's probably not the most popular view. But it's why I'm not a big proponent of these dynamic magic systems. I think they just bog things down. So, I'm interested in hearing, do you like static or dynamic spellcasting systems? Does the Vancian system work for you? Does the psionic system, whether it's 3.5 or Psionics Unleashed, hit that spot for you? Or do you like the fully functional dynamic system like they're being presented in the Ultimate Magic under the Words of Power word spells? I'm interested in knowing.